Hello mis amores, or dare I say, hallo meine Lieben, which I feel like doesn't really have the same ring to it because mis amores is just more personal and then meine Lieben is just like, you can basically say that to anyone, a stranger. It just doesn't feel right, even though it should feel right for this video because today we're gonna make German desserts that I have never made, which I feel like sounds crazy because these are very typical German things to eat or to make, but for some reason I've only ever had them when we were, I don't know, at a birthday party when I was younger or a soccer match from my brother. I've just never made them myself. Also, I don't think my family has ever made it, so I feel like it was about time that I've tried it myself and also show those of you who are not from Germany that we can actually make something yummy. German cuisine isn't really for me, but if at all, then I think the sweet stuff is more convincing. We're gonna make one of my favorite things to eat, which I also haven't had in forever, so that's gonna be exciting. The other thing is something that Naomi really loves, so we're gonna have the best of both worlds. Even more so than making me happy, I love making other people happy, which can come close to people pleasing, which I am not guilty of. No. For that reason, we're gonna make Naomi's favorite thing first. It's not her favorite thing, but she really loves it. We are going to make a Donauwelle. That sounds great, right? No idea where that name comes from, but it must be from someone who lived close to the Danube River here in Germany because that's the translation. Like Donau is Danube and Welle is wave. So it's called Danube wave. I don't know, don't ask me. So let me tell you guys a thing or two about Danube waves. It is a cake that essentially consists of 3 layers. The first is like a basic sponge, but more like a marble cake, I think it's called in English as well. Into that cake layer, we're gonna incorporate some cherry morellos, I think they're called, according to the internet. Then there's more of a pudding layer, and then we're gonna top it off with some chocolate glaze. Let's start with a cake layer. The Donauwelle is usually made on a baking tray. Then you can imagine how big it usually gets. I'm gonna make half of it, so I still have to figure out what I wanna bake it in, but for that cake layer, you're going to need 5 medium eggs. I'm gonna take 2 large ones, fingers crossed. 200 grams of sugar, 125 milliliters of neutral oil, 250 grams of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, 125 milliliters of water, 1 tablespoon of milk, and that. That's supposed to happen. That's usually part of any German recipes. I'm just saying, if you don't do it, then your recipe might not turn out great. I'm just saying, if you really love me, you would share them. I think I'm gonna take a couple more just because I have a couple more. But technically, you add 350 grams of cherry morellos. I used to love them as a kid, but these ones don't really taste that good. I don't know, they just don't seem as sweet anymore and flavorful. Let's preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius and then let's get started. The first step is to separate the eggs. Nein, das ist nicht passiert. Not the egg. Let's separate the eggs. If there's one thing I know how to do, definitely not knowing how to separate eggs. Apparently. Anyway, we're going to whisk the egg whites with 50 grams of the sugar. Or 25 in my case. Until stiff peaks form. Now, onto the fun part. What do you mean that was fun? Oil, egg yolks. Oh no, it broke. The rest of the sugar. Now we whisk it until it's frothy. I think that's fair enough. Now we add the baking powder, the flour, and the water. I'm not gonna add everything at once. Okay, so this doesn't look like a lot of batter. We also don't have the egg whites in there yet. Now transfer half of that batter into another bowl that you're then gonna add the cocoa to and the milk. Maybe I shouldn't have made half the recipe because it really doesn't seem like a lot of batter. Now we just split the egg white and fold it under each half of the batter. Excelente! Your batter is done now. You can prepare a baking tray with some baking paper. I think I'm just gonna use a normal cake. I mean, it's gonna be round then, but I don't think it matters. Light one. It's too big. Oh no, it's gonna be as thinny. I mean, it's gonna rise a little, hopefully. Now the dark one, we're just gonna put in like splodges. In hindsight, maybe I should have had less of the dark and more of the lighter batter. So maybe don't split it evenly. Now with a fork, I'm just gonna make some little swirly swirls. I'm not sure you're really supposed to do that with a donut vella, but I like how it looks usually with like a marble cake. So I'm gonna do it as well. Done! You can now bake it for 25 minutes. We're not done, guys. The cherries! Ice cream sundaes with the cherry on top. Best part, don't forget about the best part. The coffee. Now it is a donut vella. And afterwards, it will have to cool down completely. While the cake is in the oven, we can make the filling, the vanilla filling, because it'll also have to cool down. Well, essentially, again, we're just gonna make like a German pudding, and you can just buy this mix everywhere, basically. But there are also ways to make it yourself with like probably a lot of starch and some vanilla extract. But you need one of these packages, which I hope you have elsewhere as well. About 40 grams of sugar and 500 milliliters of milk. Actually, you need double that if you make the normal size donut vella. I'm just gonna follow the instructions on this now. From your 500 milliliters of milk, you're gonna take about 6 tablespoons, add the sugar, and also the cornstarch or whatever is in this pudding. Also gonna add a splodge more vanilla extract. Making pudding always makes me a little nervous because we're gonna have to bring milk to a boil, and when I was younger I ran into a lot of issues and situations of it boiling over and bubbling and like basically setting the kitchen on fire. It's okay, I can still eat the cake though. You're gonna have to bring the rest of the milk to a boil, then take the pot off the heat, whisk in the pudding mixture, and then put it back on the heat, stir constantly for a little while until it boils as well. Take it off the heat again and put it into somewhere else. Safe. I don't know. Into a bowl or so, and then cover it right on top with some cling foil, and then let it cool completely. Hey y'all, it's your boy Vinsainto. I don't know. I am here to finish off our donut vella, like almost finished. We will now make the vanilla cream that is basically just the vanilla buttercream. It clicked and I realized. You're just gonna need the pudding that mine isn't like super duper cold, but I feel like cold enough. And then you're just gonna need 200 grams of soft butter, which we're gonna whisk until there's no tomorrow. Okay, it's just supposed to be like a little creamy, frothy, and lighter in color. Good enough. Now you just mix in your puddings. It's still a little soft. Smooth and nice. It tastes good. Now, this is what my cake looks like. Very interessante. And on top of this cake, which is cold, you're just gonna spread the buttercream. Buttercream is quite runny. Make a smooth top because the cake definitely wasn't smooth. Now I do want to let it set in the fridge or freezer even for a little while, because again mine is a little bit too runny, I think, because the last step technically is just to melt some dark chocolate and put it on top. I'll just put it in the freezer now, melt the chocolate, then it should be fine. Just how fast the night changes. Can you guys be... Oh, spoiler for the next recipe. Don't look. Can you guys believe it? I was actually able to melt chocolate. Take your melted chocolate, pour it on top. Smooth it out without touching the buttercream. Maybe I'll just do it like that. That works better, I think. You could call it quits here, but it would not be a donut vella without the vella. On the chocolate, there are some indentations of like a wave, usually. I think we can make one of them in the middle. Maybe I can make smaller ones with a fork on the side. Oopsies. Kind of like so. Okay, I'm just gonna put it in the freezer now so that chocolate sets quicker. Silence!
My girl.
Guys, it is time for the Danube wave. Here we are. You know, it could probably set a little bit more, but it's fine. My wave didn't really work because I probably should have waited for it to set a little bit and then make the wave. The next recipe, it definitely looks prettier, just so you know already. I'm just really hoping that I can get it out of this form. Okay, we can. That was easy. Still looks a little bit soft, but I definitely want to try it now. Again, usually you would have like squares because you bake it on a baking tray. And so you cut it into squares, but obviously mine is round now. But it is jacket-like pants, as we say in Germany. I mean, we can still do squares, actually. It's not properly set. So if it's fully set, then that part is very easy. Ta-da! Can you see the waves? I'm a little bit nervous because I've got two Dontov critics sitting there on the couch.
One of them is the world's best Dontov critic.
Then you're not allowed to try it just yet because it hasn't fully set.
But I love failure.
I don't though. Cheers, queers. That tastes really good. Well done, Vincent. I love the cherry. I must say that the buttercream tastes a little bit too much like pudding to me, which Naomi also thought that the layer consists of whipped cream instead of the buttercream. Well, all of the recipes had buttercream, so I just wish it didn't taste as much like pudding. In general, I think this tastes like the Dontov. And that's what we're here for. Really nice. You just need a lot of patience because you do want this to be fully set. The chocolate tastes really good because I used actual chocolate. But now let's make something that I prefer, hopefully. Hallo. Are you ready for rezept nummer 2?
Because I am.
It's right up my alley. Like whenever I see it anywhere, it's just like, I have to have him. We're gonna be making nosek. To be fair, they look a bit boring, but they don't taste boring. They don't. A cookie layer on the bottom, then an apricot jam layer, and topped with a nut layer, and then dipped into some chocolate to top it off. Marvelous, just fantastic. I always thought it was a little harder to make, because again, I have never made any of these recipes. Yeah, I don't know why I thought they were harder to make, because they don't look super hard to make. I feel like I've been told that. Maybe it was just my mother because she didn't want to make them more so. No, that's not true. But I remember specifically, I think it was when we visited my brother's ex-girlfriend's family for I don't know what kind of celebration. But they had so much cake and everything, and they also had these like nut corners. I think someone there told me that they're super hard to make, and ever since then I thought they were super hard to make. We've yet to find out if they really are, but by the looks of things, they're not. Let's start with a cookie layer though, and for it you will need, got it all in here, that's different, that's unusual, 300 grams of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and by the way, when I say teaspoon, I mean like the normal spoon that you eat with. Same with tablespoon. I don't mean like an actual tablespoon, I mean like spoon that you eat with. This is how in Germany we sometimes measure. I don't know if the amounts differ, but just take your normal silverware for that. 130 grams of sugar, 1 pack of vanilla sugar. I don't know, just add a little bit of vanilla extract if you don't have that. 2 eggs and 130 grams of soft butter. And now just mix it all together until you have a dough. That worked well enough. This is another thing that you make on a baking tray. Ta-da! It is a very soft dough indeed. Now apparently it's easier to do it by hand. So here I am. Do you guys have something similar wherever it is you're from? Probably not revolutionary, but it is revolutionary to me. Now, German baking is not like visually the prettiest anyway. That's good enough. Now it's time for apricot jam. I love a good apricot jam. You take 6 tablespoons or soup spoons. What do you call these bigger spoons? And you just spread a thin layer of it on top. Oh no, there are pieces in there. Pieces of me. I had no idea that was apricot jam in there. Now what do I do about these pieces? Because I don't think I want them. Put that to the side. 'Cause now we're gonna have to take care of these nuts. Oh, I'm sorry. That nut mixture, or we're gonna have to melt it in a pot. And you're gonna have to melt 200 grams of butter, 5 soup spoons, I'm just gonna call them, of either water or rum. I was mixing English and Spanish. This time I actually chose rum because we still had some rum that no one drinks here. So 200 grams of brown sugar, 1 pack, about 8 grams I think of vanilla sugar again, and 400 grams of shredded nuts. You can take whatever nuts you want. I'm opting for walnuts and almonds. We're just gonna let it melt and not boil. Once that has happened, we're gonna add the nuts to it. Basically, I think we just really want the sugar crystals to dissolve. Also eliminate the alcohol. That looks good. Now you just spread the nut mixture on top of your apricot jam and dough. Maybe if I just do small little droplets everywhere. Now we bake it for 30 to 35 minutes at 175 degrees Celsius. Bye. Hello guys. My Nussecken. They're at the oven. This is what they look like. Wow, just amazing, right? Technically, you're supposed to wait until tomorrow for them to properly cool down. I didn't want to do that. I feel like they're cool enough. And so I just kind of sort of already pre-cut them and it was fine. And like I cut off the sides already. So like, I don't know why I was supposed to wait until tomorrow. Essentially, you're gonna cut this big piece into squares that you're then gonna cut in half. It's a little bit tricky. I mean, the jam is like kind of crunchy, sticky now. By the way, these smell so amazing. Melted some more chocolate and it worked. It worked. I think my cookie layer is a little bit too thin. Other than that, it looks good. They're done! Now they just have to set goodbye. Hello! Running low on patience. The chocolate is still... I mean, it hasn't fully set, but Naomi just said that she prefers it like that, so... I must say that especially this batch of Nussecken, that looks perfect. Like, perfect. This is exactly how you would get them at your local bakery. Some of them, especially the ones from like the edges, they're a little crunchier, like not how they're supposed to be. They are supposed to be a little bit soft still. Nice and soft. Really good, really good. At first I thought they could be nuttier, but actually I think they could be. They look too good to be bad.
Was ist das denn?
Das war einfach nur. That's gonna be crunchy. Yeah?
Ja.
That's the chewy apricot jam.
This is your own creation.
Yay!
It's so good.
I think they get better the more you eat them. Guys, that was a great excursion to Germany, where we are usually not. Actually, I really enjoyed making recipes that I've been around so often, but just have never made myself. So that was exciting. And if you guys are interested, then I would love to make even more typically German recipes, because that's exciting. But only if you guys also make them. Especially the Nussecken, they were really easy. That was fun. I'm exhausted though, that took forever. Again, you needed a lot of patience. I'm sweaty, hot, and gotta go. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Y entonces nos vemos la próxima vez. Bye. Und tschüss.